What's going on, everyone? I'm with Matt at Thrive Mortgage here in Russellville, Arkansas, and him and I were having a brilliant conversation on ways that buyers were still winning in today's market. I actually paused the conversation and was like, dude, let you tell the world what you just told me. Without further ado, y'all, here is Matt to recap everything in its perfect essence. Thanks so much for coming on.
Tyler, man, thank you so much for having me. Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we've not seen times this challenging in this market for, ever in our lifetime, right? So, case in point is we were looking at the rates before we turned the camera on, and today's rate, national average, 7.25. Twice what it was a year ago, just for some perspective there.
Oh, man. So with rates increasing, and it's happened historically, you're going to hear terms that have came out before. Well, one of those that people are talking about is assumable mortgages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
what is that?
Assumable mortgages. So if you've never heard that term before, all it basically means is that your mortgage can be assumed by someone else, in this case a seller by a buyer. So
Gotcha.
The benefit for the buyer would be you might be able to assume a mortgage with a 3% interest rate, right? So you might be thinking, well, gosh, how do I find out if that mortgage is assumable? So what you're going to want to do is your seller or whoever's name is on that original mortgage is going to need to call that specific lender and ask them if it has that feature. Now, don't get your hopes up too high just yet.
Okay.
These are still pretty uncommon in today's market. I think they might make a comeback. We'll see. But you don't know if you don't ask. So typically the only type that we see is particularly government loans, FHA loans, things
Gotcha.
like that. So let's say you get the lender on the phone and your mortgage is assumable. Then what?
Right.
Well, so first, your buyer is going to have to qualify for that mortgage, just like it was a new mortgage, right? And so they're going to have to meet all those qualifications from that original lender. So that would be their lender if they take it over. Now, on the buying side, something to keep in mind is if there is some equity in the house, you could be paying that to the seller in the form of a down payment or maybe a second loan to cover the difference. Now, if you're on the selling side, a really important question that you want to ask is what happens to my name once I let someone else assume the mortgage?
Okay.
There are some cases in the past when a lender kept the seller's name on the mortgage and the buyer defaulted, and then the seller's credit tanked and they were still responsible for a house they didn't own anymore. So the key is just always ask lots of questions up front and know what you're getting into.
That's brilliant. And consult with a professional. Can a buyer do anything to get a lower interest rate?
Absolutely. So a rate buy down is probably the most common thing that you'll see or hear. Almost every lender has this option. And basically what it is you have the ability to buy down your rate or pay some upfront interest at closing in order to have a lower monthly rate, and obviously a lower monthly payment.
Right.
So a few things to keep in mind on this one too. A couple of questions to ask is, what is your strategy? What
Gotcha.
are you thinking you might do for the next 3 to 5 to 7 years? And I think, why is that important? I'm buying a 30-year mortgage, right?
Right.
Well, the average mortgage only lives about 5 years in the U.S. So we get 30-year mortgages and we either refinance them or we sell the house or we do a cash out refi maybe because we're going to update the kitchen, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So the reason that's important is, let's say I give you $2,000 and you're my lender. I'm buying down the rate and
Right.
I get it from this rate to this rate and it's going to save me this much money a month. Well, it might take 6 or even 7 years before I've broke even, much less start saving money. So if my mortgage is refinanced or I sell my house in say 3 years or 4 years, I've spent money and I didn't get to even recoup my costs, much less save. So knowing those things going in and asking those harder questions to yourself and to your lender can really pay off big on the backside.
Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to break down some of the things buyers can utilize to navigate the home buying process. I will drop Matt's information because I know you're going to have specific questions that he can help you through and with. And as always, if you have had any thoughts about the buying or selling process, connect with a professional so we can help navigate those waters with you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Thanks so much.